Howdy friends, thanks for joining us. Hope you had a Merry Christmas and a great 2023. Coulter Brown here from the Northern Ag Network with our livestock market update. Today we're going to talk about 2023 in the cattle business and look forward to next year to see what 2024 could hold. Now this year did give us a dose of hopefulness. We saw calf and fed cattle markets achieve new records. Moisture returned to a lot of the region finally, and we did see some moderation in feed costs. Although I wouldn't say the optimism was unbridled. We're still facing a lot of headwinds, costs that are historically high, pastures and ranch finances that need to heal up, a lot of challenges. We also struggled with weaning weights and breed back in a lot of areas this year. But it looks like 2024 could offer us both high prices and green grass. Today we're going to look at the futures market as well as the cash, feeder, and bred markets, talk about the projections for next year, spend a little time on the weather, and look at how the supply and demand fundamentals are shaping up. First though, thanks to Ag Risk Advisors, the experts in livestock risk protection, for sponsoring today's report. They want to wish everyone a happy new year. Ag Risk Advisors, they're with you no matter the weather. Well, let's start out here looking at the futures market. Well, it's not exactly a terribly positive story. We're still talking feeder futures that are $40 off their September highs. Now, they were able to gain back $10 to $15 from the contract lows that were notched in early December, but it was a tough fall for the feeders. Similar story in the live cattle. They're off $25 from their highs, but not as much of a rebound as the feeders saw in December. Some of those nearby contracts still closing a touch lower, while the deferreds managed to add a bit of money. Now, all the pressure that the futures market saw was not exactly equated in the cash market. It still moved lower, but not as big a drops as the futures saw. Cash-fed cattle actually saw their increase at the end of December. It was the first time the prices moved higher since about Halloween, so kind of a tough fall for the cash as well. Live cash sales finishing the year at that 170 mark and dress trade right at 270. The USDA Cattle on Feed report sure offered a lot of discomfort in the fall here. A lot of those reports coming in bearish on the placement numbers. The December report, a bit of a mixed bag. Placements were down 2% from a year ago, but they were expected to be 4 to 5% lower. And with the slowdown in the processing pace, marketings were off 7%, so that brought total cattle on feed numbers 3% above last year. As we look at what's driving those increased placements, imports do have something to do with it because we've got these high prices that are bringing cattle north into the U.S., but really we're also pulling cattle forward. So we're still talking cow numbers that are declining really since 2019. We've seen smaller and smaller calf crops. As you look at the feeder supply outside of feed yards, it's estimated 3.6% lower than last year. That's down 900,000 head, a supply that's even smaller than what we saw in 2015. The choice box beef cutout didn't give us much support in the fall either. Typically we start to see a rally with the holiday beef buying, but really box beef was just steady to even a little bit lower. That'll be a factor to watch in 2024 as wholesale beef prices are expected higher and retail prices as well. And as we look at issues like consumer debt, economic headwinds, and interest rates, beef demand will be lower in 2024. However, we're still talking historically strong beef demand compared to what we've seen over the last 25 or 30 years. And given the quality of beef that the industry is putting out, that should provide some underlying support to demand. Now as we turn to the feeder cattle market, at the final sales of the year in Torrington and at Stockman's Livestock in Dickinson, we did see calf prices come back. At that last sale of the year in Torrington, the 550 to 600 pound steers averaged 274. That's up from 214 a year ago, 28% higher. And in 2021, they closed the year at an average of 186. So that's a gain of 88 cents a pound in 2 years, about $500 a head. Now, we know the cost increase as well, so that's not $500 in profit, but at least we've got those prices definitely moving in the right direction. The first big test of the feeder market in 2024 going to be Northern Livestock Video's Diamond Ring sale. 47,000 head going to sell on that. It's about 20% smaller than last year, so that may point to the smaller supply of cattle that we have. Now, the bred cattle market was pretty fun to watch in December. Very active demand. You can see a couple of the big sales there. If you compare back to last year, bred heifers selling about 30% higher. The young cows seeing even stronger demand, up 40%. And those broken mouth cows, 43% higher. Really, a guy could almost say these bred cows are undervalued given how strong the calf prices are, but like we say, there's a bit more cautious optimism, I should say, as we look at this market. The high calf prices do encourage expansion, but as we battle headwinds, wait on the weather to get better, and we're still seeing a lot of dispersion. Some folks that are older may be taking this opportunity to exit the industry, so cow numbers continue to decline. We'll be watching those cow numbers at the end of January when USDA gives us the semi-annual cattle inventory report. That's going to tell us that we're still contracting this herd. We're expecting to see about a 600,000 head decrease in the national cow herd. Now last year we were at 60-year lows, so we're just plunging that number even lower. So 2024 likely to tell us we've got smaller cattle numbers. That's going to mean decreased beef production, higher prices, and more leverage for the cow-calf producer. But this expansion phase of the industry is going to take a little longer than what we would typically see. Now, you talk about expansion, you have to think about the weather. It's all going to depend on, do we have the grass? Cautious optimism there as well. Brian Bledsoe, who does a long-range weather forecast for Ag Risk Advisors, told me that this winter he's expecting the weather to be warmer and drier than normal. But come spring, he's projecting a shift to see better moisture in the northern plains from about April through June. So we're really hoping that that forecast rings true as well. On the feed cost side, increased corn acres in 2023 offset disappointing yields, and we had a record corn crop in the U.S. this year. That increased supply is expected to keep prices ranging next year from $4.50 to $5.50 a bushel. As we look to the export market, we talk about a strong dollar, these high prices, and just decreased U.S. production, and beef exports expected to be down 13% in 2023 and off another 5% in 24. Imports are just the opposite story. They were higher in 23 and expected to be about 7% larger in 24. Now wrapping up with CattleFax's price outlook for next year, they're forecasting higher values across the board again. 5.5 weight steer calves expected to have an annual average of $290. That's up 10% from this year. Those tight calf supplies will transfer more leverage to ranchers. Highest prices, of course, expected in the spring, but the decline into the fall run expected to be more modest. 8-weight yearlings expected to average $240 next year, with the highest prices in the second half of the year. Fed cattle forecast range $168 to $2 with an average at $184. The larger placements this fall will equate to more fed cattle available to the market in early 24, but that'll change as we move deeper into the year. Cattle feeder profitability will decline as they have to bid more aggressively for a tighter supply. And cull cow values expected to remain well supported as we just have smaller cow numbers and not going to cull as aggressively this year. The forecast is for an average of 115 with the highest values in late spring or summer. Well, we certainly covered a lot in today's report. I appreciate you joining us. A lot of optimism for next year. We just hope it rings true. From all of us here at Northern Ag Network, I want to wish you a blessed and prosperous 2024. Take care.